Imagine one day you are sitting in your friend's car while they are shopping, when suddenly you are ripped from the car, beaten, and dragged off in an SUV. This was the unfortunate reality of Castaneda Mondragon, a Mexican immigrant in America. Castaneda Mondragon, a Mexican immigrant on a work visa, was detained by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE. Mondragon was sitting inside of his friend's vehicle near a shopping mall when ICE detained him. He was ripped from the vehicle and was immediately beaten repeatedly with a metal baton before being hauled off in an SUV to a detention center. As disturbing as the case of Mondragon is, he is only one of the many victims of ICE's crusade on illegal immigrants. There have been many accounts of people assaulted, sometimes even fatally so, by ICE agents. Some accounts describe the people as threats to the officers, while others describe them as completely innocent bystanders. Unfortunately, without enough body cam footage for enough of these cases, it is difficult to state which side is truthful. However, looking at the situation as a whole, too many people are getting injured and even killed when the situation does not call for that kind of reaction. A possible reason for this is that agents don't know what kind of situations require different levels of force. Ryan Schwenk, a former ICE instructor at an academy in Georgia, reported that the agency slashed 240 hours from the required 580 hours of training. This reduced training impacts an ICE agent's ability to recognize the limits in their authority and the proper procedure for arrests. Furthermore, according to the Department of Homeland Security, the number of ICE agents has more than doubled from 10,000 to 22,000. The shoddy training of all these new hires could be the reason that, despite the situation not calling for it, many ICE agents have used lethal force, resulting in injury for most and death for others. ICE has employed these aggressive tactics at the behest of the Trump administration and their policy on immigration. Trump's policy on immigration is to deport those who came into and/or are currently living in the country illegally, and to make it more difficult for people to immigrate legally. In the case of legal immigrants, Trump has frozen all immigration applications from a list of 19 countries he has placed a travel ban on. Furthermore, Trump has also called for a more strict vetting policy for anyone who applies for immigrant status. The freezing of applications completely stops the flow of immigrants from the countries, and the stricter vetting process further restricts those who can even apply in the first place. On the other hand, illegal immigrants are being detained and deported from the country. ICE often will raid non-public work sites and sweep up anyone they deem to be an illegal immigrant. These people are beaten and detained before being either released or deported. And the reasoning behind these aggressive tactics are unsubstantiated. The purpose behind the Trump administration employing such an aggressive tactic boils down to a few reasons. On May 16th of 2019, President Trump stated that, quote, "Newcomers compete for jobs against the most vulnerable Americans and put pressure on our social safety net and generous welfare programs," end quote. I will address both of these claims individually. Firstly, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2024, 51.4% of employed immigrants work in fields such as transportation, construction, and service work, while only 31.9% of native-born Americans work in these fields. 48.6% of immigrants work in management and office occupations, while 65.7% of native-born Americans work in these fields. The statistics show that, almost inversely, immigrants tend to take the jobs that native-born Americans seem largely uninterested in, with a bit under half of immigrants working in professional settings. Secondly, immigrants contribute more in taxes than they ever gain from social welfare services. According to the Tax Policy Center, undocumented immigrants paid nearly $100 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022, with there being approximately 5.4 million active individual taxpayer identification numbers, an alternative offered to those without a social security number in order for them to pay taxes. Despite immigrants paying into our tax system, most authorized immigrants do not qualify for social or tax benefits, and absolutely no illegal immigrants are eligible for them. Another main reason for the strong anti-immigrant mindset is the belief that most immigrants are criminals. Starting in January 2025, the Trump administration has revoked over 100,000 visas. In a statement given by a spokesperson for the State Department, quote, "The State Department revoked visas from thousands of foreign nationals charged or convicted with crimes, including assault, theft, and driving under the influence," end quote. His statement claims that the main focus group for visa cancellation and deportation are violent criminals, but only 60% of the nearly 400,000 immigrants that were arrested had any criminal record, and only a quarter of that percentage were convicted of violent crimes. This means that the overwhelming majority of those arrested by ICE were not violent criminals at all. The effects of this strong approach on immigrants, for reasons that are largely invalid, are awful and are only getting worse. This strong anti-immigrant sentiment expressed by the US government has had a few negative effects, the most prominent of which being the effect it has on some of the citizens. In 2019, Patrick Crusius shot 45 people, killing 23 of them. He included many white nationalist and anti-immigrant sentiments in his manifesto that he posted to 8chan before the attack. This case shows that some people who hold incredibly racist views are emboldened by their perceived affirmation from the US government and will act on their beliefs. Another negative effect is the impact it has on natural-born citizens with ancestry in other nations. Since ICE doesn't conduct any prior investigations on individuals before deciding who to detain, the only information that they act on is their perception of people and what they think an illegal immigrant would look like. This has led to US citizens being caught up in these raids that ICE conducts. Leo Garcia Vengas is an American citizen who was born in America. He has been caught up in 2 ICE raids. At both times, he was assaulted and detained at his construction worksite. He states that he and other US citizens are afraid to even go into work because they don't want to be caught in another ICE raid. This fear is very widespread, especially among the Latin American community. In summary, President Trump's response to the inaccurately perceived problem of immigration has led to ICE's increased presence and subsequent violence caused by it. Furthermore, the overall growth of the anti-immigrant sentiment has emboldened some who already support the idea and has instilled fear in those who don't, even if they are US citizens. Thank you so much for watching all the way through and taking an active part in being informed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, and subscribe to stay informed on current events as they happen. Once again, thank you, and have a good rest of your day.